30 years of joyfulness. Hello, good evening and welcome to Newsnight. We're live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and over 30 affiliates across the country. Coming up, we inherited an energy sector on the brink of collapse and drowning in debt. The words of President John Dramani Mahama as he delivers his maiden State of the Nation address.
It was weighed down by unsustainable debt. This unfortunate situation has led to many independent power producers and fuel suppliers threatening to cease their operations.
We have details as President John Dramani Mahama reverses the controversial unitization of oil fields in the country as he hopes this will revive the ailing petroleum sector.
We believe that this will open the way for an amicable resolution of the issues between Springfield and ENI. And this should make our oil and gas prospects more attractive to investments going forward.
Also coming up tonight, President Mahama has directed immediate freezing of all assets of suspects in the National Service ghost name scandal as he warns all suspected persons declared wanted and arrested.
Unfortunately, some of these suspects are believed to have absconded from the country already. I have directed that they be declared wanted and their assets traced and frozen until investigations are completed.
We've got details as he announces military training for all National Service persons.
Newly passed National Service Authority Act 2024, that's Act 1119. We will introduce short military training as part of our National Service scheme.
Also coming up, Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining repetitions the IGP over investigation delays into activities of Akunta Mining and its chairman Bernard Inchibisiako. Meanwhile, a spirited campaign has been reignited against Galamsey as major stakeholders, including the Speaker of Parliament, determine penal measures for implicated MPs.
Parliament will not tolerate any member of Parliament, regardless of your position, who is found to be complicit in destructive mining activities.
Also ahead tonight, Dutch Embassy questions directive from the Foreign Affairs Ministry asking all embassies in Ghana to provide human treatment conditions for Ghanaian visa applicants.
So that is quite difficult for us then to improve our service delivery based on these generic observations, because we don't feel that those generic observations apply to our situation.
And coming up in business.
Well, still on the State of the Nation address, the President insists that current economic crisis is deeper than they earlier estimated.
This will also hear again from the President, who has vowed to ensure transparency in the funding of the Black Stars and hold the Ghana Football Association accountable.
Right, these and more coming up shortly. Remember, you can also join the conversation on our WhatsApp number 055 1111 997. My name is Kenneth Jesse.
I'm Faustina Safo.
We'll be back after this.
Thanks for choosing us. We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Well, tonight we inherited an energy sector on the brink of collapse and drowning in debt. Those are the words of President John Dramani Mahama in his maiden State of the Nation address. He did not hold back, accusing the previous administration of piling up a staggering 70 billion Ghana cedis in debt, despite collecting 45 billion cedis in energy sector levies.
Well, he warned that independent power producers are on the verge of shutting down. Fuel suppliers are threatening to walk away, and unless drastic measures are taken, Ghanaians will pay the ultimate price, not just in cedis, but in darkness.
Yesterday, February 26, 2025, marks exactly 10 years since I stood in this chamber at this very spot to declare my determination to fix Dumso, a legacy problem of power shortages. And Mr. Speaker, I fixed it. Yes, I promised to fix it, and I did. And I wish to place firmly on record that from January 2016 until I handed over the administration of this country on January 7, 2017, there was no power rationing or load management in Ghana. My administration inherited an energy sector on the brink of collapse. it was weighed down by unsustainable debt. This unfortunate situation has led to many independent power producers and fuel suppliers threatening to cease their operations. Mr. Speaker, listen to this. Despite collecting over 45 billion cedis in energy sector levies, ESLA, over the last 8 years, the outgone administration has left the Ghanaian people with an energy sector burdened with a staggering debt of 70 billion cedis as of December 2024. It is of deep concern that several state-owned enterprises in the energy sector are struggling to stay afloat, and unless urgent interventions are made, many of them will go under. Financial distress in the energy sector remains a significant obstacle to delivering consistent and affordable electricity to Ghanaians, and it poses an existential threat to our economy in general.
Well, President Mahama also said the electricity company of Ghana and other state-owned firms are barely staying afloat, and private players are also feeling the heat. To solve these teething challenges, President Mahama is proposing a radical shake-up. He wants the private sector to handle metering and billing, insisting that enforcing compliance is the only way to stop revenue leaks and keep the lights on.
Compounding these challenges, critical maintenance activities such as the scheduled pigging of the West African gas pipeline, WACO, were postponed from 2024 to 2025 without sufficient contingency measures for alternative fuel supply. I have been informed that the pigging exercise will be completed in the first week of March, and once again, additional gas will flow from Nigeria. We are anticipating a marked improvement in the power situation once this begins. While the current state of our energy sector poses grave concerns, we must remain resolute in our commitment to restoring stability. I've directed the Minister for Energy and Green Transitions to implement far-reaching reforms, including enforcing a single revenue collection account, strictly adhering to the cash waterfall mechanism, and eliminating all wasteful expenditures by the state utility. Following my directive, the Minister has set up an advisory committee to guide the participation of the private sector in metering and billing in order to improve efficiency in revenue collection and also reduce the high commercial and technical losses that are threatening to drown the state-owned utility company. A pilot partnership between ECG and Enclave Power has proved highly successful and provides us with a workable framework. ECG provides bulk supply of power to Enclave Power Limited. This is an organization in Ghana. Enclave Power provides meters and bills to all companies operating in the free zones enclave, with 99% revenue collection and nearly 100% uptime in power supply. This is being done here in Ghana. We can use it to cover the rest of the nation to ensure that we get revenue compliance and be able to bring down tariffs for our people. Reduction in commercial and technical losses will lead to affordable tariffs for everyone and will bring relief to all users of electric power. We also aim in the medium term to achieve 100% gas utilization for power production and to eliminate completely the use of crude oil and fossil fuels. This will save Ghana hundreds of millions of dollars spent on the importation of fuel oils for power production annually.
On Ghana's bleeding petroleum sector, President John Dramani Mahama revealed that crude oil production has dropped by over 30%. He revealed that instructions have been given to scrap the controversial unitization policy and pushing for billions in fresh investment to revive the industry.
Ghana's petroleum sector has witnessed a precipitous decline, with crude oil production sinking by more than 32%. This has resulted from the high opacity levels, a very hostile business climate, and excessive political interference in the sector, culminating in most of the major oil companies exiting and stalling all upstream activities. The decline in upstream activity is obvious to any person familiar with the twin cities of Sekondi and Takoradi. Just under a decade ago, these cities were the bustling epicenter of fabrication, logistics, service activity associated with the upstream oil and gas sector. Unfortunately, my recent visit reveals many shut down facilities and many businesses have packed and left the shores of our country. Hundreds of workers have been laid off and left unemployed. I wish to assure the good people of Sekondi Takoradi and indeed the whole Western region that we are going to breathe life back into your area. Mr. Speaker, we have already commenced revitalization of our upstream petroleum sector by creating a business-friendly and congenial environment for our partners and other prospective investors who wish to come in. My meeting with the players in the upstream sector have been extremely positive, and we have been assured of substantial investments running into billions of dollars in the very near future. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Energy and Green Transitions gave the directive for the removal of the unitization based on the arbitration that took place. We believe that this will open the way for an amicable resolution of the issues between Springfield and ENI, and this should make our oil and gas prospects more attractive to investments going forward.
Well, let's explore this further. Joining me now is Andre Japamesa. He's former Deputy Energy Minister. Thank you so much for your time. I also have Ben Boachi. He's Executive Director for ASEP. Now, I'll start with you, Andre Japamesa, as we look at some of the key things the president has said. He said that you collected over 45 billion cedis in energy sector levies, but you still left behind a debt of 70 billion Ghana cedis. How did this happen under your watch?
Let me say good evening to your cherished listeners. Indeed, it's surprising that when we embark on engagements of a national nature such as this, we are not entirely truthful with the people. Forgive me, I'm panting because I was caught, in the middle of something. And I need to run to my car to engage on this discourse with you. Back of the envelope calculation, using current exchange rate figures, would indicate that every month for the amount of money that government was spending on paying for gas alone on Sankofa in 2017, 2018, the region of about $50 million a month, in itself puts you at some 78 billion Ghana cedi at an exchange rate of 15. Now, look at and so by that back of the envelope calculation alone, the amount of money that you've had to pay for gas payment alone far exceeds how much you've collected in energy sector levies over the period. Now, if you look at the Act, it will tell you clearly the other components that the law was intended to pay for. And so for the former president and now president who's been there before to come to Parliament and put out the statement that suggests that so much have been collected and yet there's so much debt in itself on the payment of gas alone tells you that he was being deceptive with the people of Ghana.
Are you saying the president lied? Explain to me why exactly.
I've given you that just the simple back of the envelope calculation on energy sector payments, in the gas space alone. Indeed, and in fact, prior to ENI conducting their debottlenecking activity, I believe in 2022, 2023, we were consuming in the region of 180 to 110 million scraps of gas. Now we're doing in the region of, I believe, 250. We had a monthly bill of 50 million, 49. Now, ENI bill alone has increased to about 70 million a month. 60, 70 million a month. If you compute that alone, okay, with today's exchange rates, and I'm not saying that it's been a straight line from 2017, the amount of money that you've paid to ENI alone is in the region of some 76 billion. And so, and of course, there are other components, toll debt recovery, capacity charge payments, and all that. Look, ECG, there's no way that ECG can meet its invoices, even if you collect all the amount of money that it supplies to consumers. Why? Because there's a 35% or so, in fact, it used to be more, as of August 2023, the last computation that was done prior to, at the point where there was some attempt at structuring the cash waterfall mechanism into a tiered system. There was a $1.7 billion debt that was outstanding on ECG's books to IPPs alone. 35% of that was excess capacity payments. And so that is paid for from the energy sector levy. So if you look at the totality of all the obligations that the Akufo-Addo government inherited, in fact, all the totality of the issues that Mr. Mahama himself recognized in 2015, hence enacting the Energy Sector Levies Act to deal with those problems. It cannot be said that by reason of the amount of money that the NPP government collected, vis-a-vis the component of invoices that were being generated within the space, the energy sector was mismanaged. In fact, the Akufo-Addo government, if you assess the issues in its totality, ought to be commended for keeping the lights on over the period up till the time that he handed over to Mr. Mahama. And his responsibility, with respect, is for him to continue managing it to ensure that Ghanaians have electricity on a day-by-day basis going forward.
Mr. Japabesa, the president actually painted a grim picture of what is happening. He said that if care is not taken and if urgent interventions are not made, most of the state-owned enterprises in the energy sector will have to go. Really, how do you account for your stewardship?
But I've given you data. I've given you the reality, okay? We inherited a certain sector, fuel and generation. On the fuel side, there was some take or pay that the government of Ghana had signed with the Sankofa partners that was generating a bill of $50 million odd dollars per month. That is separate and distinct from the cost of generation, which is on the IPP side, and what it is that ECG, which ordinarily ought to generate revenue to pay everybody in the value chain, okay, ought to generate. So right from the get-go, on the fuel side, there was no way that ECG's collections, even if it was collecting 100%, could pay. That was a problem that was recognized by Mr. Mahama when he was president in 2016 or 15, when he passed the Energy Sector Levies Act. That's one. On the generation side, ECG had contracted so much power, excess power, that it needed to pay for. It could not generate the revenue to pay for that power. And so that was a reason why subsequently in 2021, the Energy Sector Levies Act was amended to capture capacity payments. And so the reality of what the NPP government inherited was a badly managed energy sector. We held it together for the 8-year period. And of course, the new government has come and is taking over from exactly the situation that it is that the government inherited, managed to this point, and they need to continue and clean it up if they can.
Okay. Andrew Japabesa is a former deputy energy minister. Thank you very much. We still have on the line Ben Boakye, who's the executive director of ASEP. Ben, thank you very much for holding on for for us. Is that the true reflection of the energy sector that John Mahama painted?
Thanks for having me. No, I think significantly, I mean, the issues you mentioned are issues that we have copiously written about for the past years, trying to highlight how the energy sector was actually derailing progress of our country. So to that extent, I don't think it's entirely new. What is new is the extent of the debt. I never knew it was 70 billion. And also, in the past few weeks, we've had different numbers, which would then require that we do a comprehensive audit of what the numbers actually look like and categorize them and publish them so that we are sure where all the debts are coming from. And then we can move on from there, looking at the solutions to actually address the debt accumulation to make sure that we can free the budget from, the burden of the energy sector.
Now, the president is also proposing a radical shake-up. He wants the private sector to handle metering and billing. Is that the way forward?
Yes, I actually belong to a committee that has been established the options for private sector participation. The committee has progressed to actually engage relevant stakeholders. We're in the process of actually analyzing what we've heard and also apply our technical understanding of the issues to what we've heard. And then we'll advise government appropriately what option will actually address the problems of the energy sector. But the job of the committee is really to look at how sustainable a recommendation could be to address the sector problems going forward.
Thank you so much, Ben Boachi, for your time here on Newsnight. He's Executive Director for ASEP.
Right. Up next is business, and George Yafe is here with the latest. George, what do we have?
Well, I'll be telling you more about the President's State of the Nation address, where he's talking about the fact that the current state of the economy or the current economic crisis is more deep or worse than what they had earlier estimated. We're bringing you also reactions from an economist and also the business community about what was said in the State of the Nation address. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials. Sinter's Tanks and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. Let's now settle for the details as we look at the State of the Nation address. And President John Mahama has revealed that the current economic crisis and debt stock are deeper than earlier estimated. Now, this, the president says, could take years for the necessary corrections to be done. The president said this when he presented the State of the Nation address in Parliament today. President John Mahama noted that despite this challenge, he's committed to fixing the situation.
We'll set the stage for further reductions in the size of future governments. With the inauguration of the Council of State, we can begin appointing the staff of the presidency. I intend to significantly reduce the number of staff compared to what existed under previous administrations. All this is aimed at leading by example in cutting down government expenditure and reducing the budget deficit.
The president also added that despite earlier promises, the state of the sinking fund for settling debts was nothing to write home about.
It shows a balance of only $64,000 in the dollar account, $64,000 in the dollar account, and 143 million Ghana cedis in the CD account.
He also revealed that most of the state-owned agencies like Cocoa Board and Electricity Company of Ghana have been saddled with huge debts.
In addition to the public debt, which amounts to a staggering 721 billion cedis, several state-owned enterprises are also in debt, including the ECG, which owes 68 billion Ghana. Ghana Cocoa Board, the hope of cocoa farmers, is also highly indebted. Its balance sheet indicates a total debt of 32.5 billion Ghana cedis.
President John Mahama was optimistic that despite all these challenges, he's committed to correcting the wrongs of the past and putting the economy back on track. Let's do some reactions, and let's first start with an economy professor, Patrick Esumi, who argues that it might be good for the president to come clean on the economy before asking for some sacrifices from Ghanaians.
The impression that was created is that we are on a path to recovery in the economy. I think what the president is saying is that we should not underestimate the depth of our talent, and that the challenges are deep, they are widespread. And frankly, I think the state of the economy probably reflects that more than what the previous president said, because the level of difficulties we are in is not something that we should underplay. So while it's communicating that it might take a while before we are back to where we want to be, I think at the same time it's very important that you are upfront with the people of Ghana so that we adjust our expectations accordingly.
From the business community, chief executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedu-Abuaji, noted that the address showed that we are not out of the woods as a country.
The macroeconomic numbers that we are having clearly shows that the economy is not healthy. The symptoms are clear. In fact, if you have an inflation of 23%, if you have these taxes that we have, interest rates that high, policy rates running around 27%, then obviously you can't see that we have a very robust economy. So.
And that's the chief executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedu-Abuaji. Now, former First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afare, is calling for more collaboration between the private and public sector to drive the country's economic growth. He was speaking at the 2025 Church of Pentecost Global Business Conference in Accra.
Take the government as an individual. Individual, you call it income and expenditure. Government calls it revenue and expenditure. If you are an individual and your total income you get in a month is 100 Ghana cedis, but you list all your expenditures, and you see sometimes you call the expenditure the rigid part and the flexible part. Chairman did a demonstration here. He put 4 gentlemen around him. Those expenditures are not flexible. You can't do anything about them. You must face them. That's why Chairman said that you can create peace, but they won't go away. You push them back, you try to manage them, but they won't go away.
Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afare is the former First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana. The Ghana incentive-based risk sharing for agricultural lending says it has witnessed significant repayment in loans granted since 2019. The firm puts the repayment at a little over 502 million Ghana cedis compared to the 1.4 billion Ghana cedis extended as Greek loans to businesses. Samuel Yeboah is the chief operating officer of the agency and has been speaking at a roundtable discussion on Ghana's dry food project.
We started operating from 2019, and so far, cumulatively, we encourage the banks to lend about 1.49 billion Ghana cedis loan to various agribusinesses. I think to about 149 agribusinesses benefited. We did very good assessment before we recommended these facilities to the banks. So far, out of the 1.49 billion we guaranteed to the banks, about 500 million has been repaid. So I think it's going well. We paid some few claims. So I think that the scheme is helping the banks to lend more and also to lend better.
Samuel Yeboah is the chief operating officer at the Ghana Incentive-Based Risk Sharing Agency. Let's turn attention to the stock market. If you're a shareholder of MTN Ghana, it was up by 2 pesos to close at 2 Ghana cedis 91 pesos. Ben's Oil Palm Plantation was up by 6 pesos and is now closing at 26 Ghana cedis 31 pesos. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Well, thank you very much, George, for bringing us the latest in business. You're still listening to News 9 here on Joy 99.7 FM. Remember, your thoughts and comments are welcome on our WhatsApp number 055 11 11 997. Let's bring you more stories tonight. And President John Mahama has directed for an immediate freezing of the assets of all persons involved in the National Service scandal ghost name saga. A recent investigation report by the Fourth Estate has, among others, accused the NSS of facilitating ghost names on the payroll and failing to conduct proper verification of service personnel, accruing an alleged 2.2 billion cedis between 2018 to 2024. The former officials have since denied the allegations. But in his State of the Nation address today, President Mahama directed for the immediate arrest and prosecution of all perpetrators.
As part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, Mr. Speaker, as part of our Operation Recover All the Loot policy, ORA, I've already tasked our investigative bodies to bring the culprits of the National Service ghost name scandal to justice. Such brazen theft of public funds must not go unpunished. It is estimated that the criminal addition of some more than 80,000 ghost names could have yielded the suspects over 50 million Ghana cedis every month. Unfortunately, some of these suspects are believed to have absconded from the country already. I have directed that they be declared wanted.
Well, the president has also announced the implementation of a military training for all NSS persons.
To achieve a legally robust regime to govern national service, I've also tasked the Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment to coordinate and present to Parliament a legislative instrument to support the implementation of the newly passed National Service Authority Act 2024. That's Act 1119. We will introduce short military training as part of our national service scheme. This will instill a sense of fitness and discipline into our youth.
While some service personnel have already been reacting to the military training announcement, they spoke to my colleague Collins from Pongwating.
It should be one of the basic mode of recruitment, because most of the recruitments already done in our military service, we all know how it goes. So having most of your university graduates going into the military means that it's going to help you a lot. We are not going to overly emphasize on machoism, but are going to deal with intellect more. So we should also look at that as an opportunity where people, after that short military training, who showed interest should just be recruited if they need be.
What I know is that the normal days or period spent in military training is 6 months. So I am suggest that's for recruit, and for officers is 1 year plus a month, so more than a year. So I think with this, he can start up making it, initiating it, or making it a basic necessity for NSS personnel in the first month of their service to the National Service Secretariat. It should also be used as a benchmark to recruit people who are interested to join the military.
A lot of people may actually apply, but they may not get opportunity. Some may pass, protocol means, and still they may not get. So I think if they are given a taste of it, and after, going through the necessary, training for the few months he's intending to do it, then no problem. If they still want to join, then they can still remain.
Oh, Faustina, what a relief that I did my service earlier.
My exact sentiments, because I can't imagine going for military training with all this body.
I'm looking at your height and being in a military uniform. It would be
Please
nice.
leave me alone.
Well,
leave me alone.
Well, it's now time for sports, and Musbar is here with the latest.
Yeah, guys, just heard you talking about military training there.
Yeah, I think you would have done well.
Yeah, it's actually in the Constitution, I don't know why. It's actually there. It's supposed to be part of our, exercise as national service personnel.
Right.
It's just not being implemented. So maybe, Faustina, we have to take you back to
Please,
it.
you can't take me back.
Anyway, well, quick update from the President's State of the Nation's address on sports, where he has vowed to ensure that there will be transparency in the expenditure of the Black Stars. Well, he has said that he's directed the Minister for Sports and Recreation, Honorable Kofi Adams, to ensure that the Ghana Football Association is held accountable for the expenses that the state makes on national teams. Mr. President said that there will be no secrecy in how much the government spends on national teams, emphasizing that funds allocated to sports, particularly football, must be properly accounted for.
The senior national team, the Black Stars, which is now a pale shadow of its former glory, will play 2 World Cup qualifying matches. I've instructed my office and the Minister for Sports and Recreation to hold the Ghana Football Association accountable to the people of Ghana as we prepare for these games, especially regarding the budget of the FA. There will be no secrecy in how much the government spends on the national teams. The budgets presented by the FA and other sports associations must be known by the public. After all, it is the taxpayers' funds that are used to fund these activities. The reduction in government expenditure and waste reduction applies to all sectors of the economy, including the Ministry of Sports and Recreation.
President John Mahama there. Well, he also spoke about the launch of the National Recreation Day, a monthly initiative that will be focused on community engagement alongside an annual National Recreation Festival there. Well, let me bring you some update from the Central Region Super Zonal competition that's underway at the Cape Coast Stadium, and it's Fatapim who are dominating the competition there. Well, they won the 100 meters. They won gold in the 100 meters, 800 meters event of the boys category. They also won gold in the 4x200 meters finals race, and also they won gold in the 200 meters final race there. Well, the 100 meters will happen tomorrow, so not sure where you belong, but Fantapim is dominating the Central Region.
My school is not part of it, so I can't relate, unfortunately.
That's all right.
But thank you very much for bringing us sports. Well, the State of the Nation address has been dominating the headlines today, and outside of the chamber earlier, some MPs have been describing the president's address as being full of lamentations.
On the 21st of February 2013, you notably said, quote, "Mr. Speaker, the meat is now down to the bones." This was on the occasion of your address to Parliament. And you said that the meat is now down to the bones. On the same state of the economy that you had presided and re-echoed the point that we are left with just the bone. Again, says that he has delivered less ministers. But it is clear that his strategy is, if less, more divide. You have appointed few ministers, but more and more and more presidential staffers. The president again came to this house with a familiar story, the usual lamentations. He packaged it in a language as though we have a new beginning.
Minority Leader there, Alexander Fayomarkin. But the NDC, they've been firing back. Let's listen to the Majority Leader.
Things are clearly bleak. So, Speaker, I see on this side of the House my colleagues in black. It is obvious that they left this economy in a miserable state. And the attire that they adorn today says it all. But this side is in white because His Excellency the President, we knew very well, was bringing to us a message of hope. Mr. Speaker, our elders have cautioned that you don't leave your crown in the hands of a hyena as a caretaker when you are traveling. Don't be surprised when you come back and the carcasses of all your livestock are gone.
Well, so those were the reactions of both the minority and majority in Parliament. Well, there have also been reaction in the Ashanti regional capital of Kumasi. My colleague Nana Boachi Adam has more.
After some hours on the floor of Parliament, President John Dramani Mahama delivered the State of the Nation's address, highlighting the challenges and then the current situation that we are in as a country. He also used the chance to re-echo his promise of resetting the country and also delivering on some of the major promises that he made during the campaign period. Today we took to the streets of Kumasi right after the President's State of the Nation's address to gauge the mood of residents and also listen to their concerns.
I would say it's not the true state. It's not the true state. Because before even the address, people came that when he comes, he should just say what it is there. So you can't just come and then say something which is what we are in now. What he came to me, there is something better there. He has to say that one and then say that there is nothing there. So all the promises that he said he's going to do, and now he's saying that due to this circumstance he cannot. I would say it's a lie.
Right, so those were some reactions from the public in the Ashanti region.
Well, to other stories now, the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining and private legal practitioner Martin Pebu have re-petitioned the Inspector General of Police over investigation delays into activities of Akunta Mining and its boss, Bernard Inchibisiako. Now, they are wondering why a prosecution process haven't started against directors of the company accused by the then Lands Minister. My colleague Michael Adjali has details of that statement and he'll be running us through that details shortly. We also have joined us on the line the convener for the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, joining us live. Erastus Asaredonko is also on the line. He has done extensive works when it comes to illegal mining, and his documentary actually exposed the activities of Akunta Mining. I'll start with you, Erastus, before I come to Michael for details of that statement. Erastus, are you pleased?
Hello.
Glad to have you. I'm just wondering your initial thoughts about this new petition.
Yeah, so it is in line, and it is shocking that many months after we filed that case, we have not seen any headway in that. It's as if
Unfortunately, we seem to have lost connection to Erastus Asaredonko. We're just looking at some of the key updates. We're learning that the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining and a private legal practitioner, Martin Pebu, they have re-petitioned the IGP over investigations into activities of Akunta Mining. I also have joining me now Dr. Ken Ashigbe. Thank you so much for your time here on Newsnight. Unfortunately, I don't have clear connection to him. I have to let him go. I was earlier engaging Erastus Asaredonko just to get his initial thoughts, because he has gathered comprehensive evidence when it comes to the activities of Akunta Mining.
Indeed, he's covered it extensively, and one of the revelations that he's been given to us on his coverage of these illegal mining activities is that he sees politicians embedded into this, and that's the more reason why they don't have the will to, solve this particular menace, though. But let's go back to my colleague Michael Ashale, who has been studying that petition by the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining. Michael, what have you found?
Well, Ken, this is dated 24th February 2025 and is directed at the Director General Criminal Investigations Division of the Ghana Police Service, and it says petition for the investigation and prosecution of Akunta Mining and Chairman Wontumi, Mr. Bernard Inchibisiako, and others for undertaking illegal mining in the Tano Nimre Forest Reserve, contrary to the Minerals and Mining Act 2006, Act 703, as amended by the Minerals and Mining Act. Now, the content of the letter in itself says that we are 2 of 4 complainants who petitioned your good self on 13th October 2022 on the above matter. Since filling the petition, we have not received much update on the progress of investigations, etc., except for a meeting sometime in 2023. Our subsequent efforts are getting further at getting further updates, including a letter we wrote to you in 2024, have not succeeded. It is our firm belief that this case appears to be unnecessarily stalling. We urge you to kindly update us on it at your earliest convenience. Signed by an engineer, Dr. Kenneth Ashigbe, and copied to the Inspector General of Police and the media. So, Kenneth and Fasti, this is exactly what we have from the coalition to the Ghana Police Service.
Well, thank you very much, Michael. We're still on legal mining, though. The Speaker of Parliament, Alban Backbane, has also issued a stern warning to members of the House, vowing to hold accountable those implicated with swift disciplinary measures. And then he made it clear that no one, regardless of their position, will escape punity or punishment if found culpable in the destructive practice. He spoke at a special forum on illegal mining here in Accra.
We can no longer afford to turn a blind eye to the devastation that this type of mining has brought upon our lands, our forests, and our water bodies, and in fact, our food crops. As members of Parliament, we hold a sacred duty to ensure that the resources in our constituencies are managed responsibly and sustainably for the benefit of present and future generations. But it's important for all of us to note that the foundation of all human rights is that of the right to life. It's so sacred. And the military will say, fire quenches fire. But the advice of the Stone Age is different. This said, let me be unequivocal in stating that Parliament will not tolerate any member of Parliament, regardless of your position, who is found to be complicit in destructive mining activities.
Well, as the rains set in, residents near Mile 7 Park fear another season of flooding from choked gutters. For months, the filth has made life difficult for residents. And my colleague Jacqueline Ansumayibwa has more in this report.
For months, these gutters have been overflowing with waste, turning every downpour into a nightmare for motorists and residents. With the rainy season approaching, the stagnant water not only breeds mosquitoes, but also intensifies the nauseating stench in the area. Kojo, a member of the Bastard Boys, admitted that this cleanup has been one of their toughest challenges yet.
This is really tough, one of the toughest jobs we are doing as volunteers. And mainly because individuals, I don't know how we are thinking, but food waste, organic waste is not actually waste.
Frustrated residents say the choked drains have disrupted their daily lives. Many blame two food joints, which they believe contribute significantly to the waste buildup.
Seeing it ourselves, we haven't been very happy with it. This thing has been there for some time now. They complain a lot, especially to the food vendor over there, that is Ayuam.
A higher pan because first I got and to me
the situation is really troubling. Our gutters never used to get this clogged, but ever since the new restaurants started operating, their waste, especially oil and other residue, has been flowing into the drains. However, a more prominent establishment has been at the center of the complaints. The manager of the food joint admitted to contributing to the problem.
I also don't think some of your stuff that you use at the restaurant, some of them do not make their way to the gutter. You don't think so?
Oh, I think because it's the food, they definitely rice particles and that one. I think that that's not the main problem. Yeah, because definitely.
So then it means somehow, some way you also contribute.
Yes,
to
we also. I could say that we also contribute.
What would you do in your bit to also make sure that once they are done, we won't see such a filth here?
We are doing it. After everything, we want to put some measures that maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks, we're going to call for an exercise so that we all help and then we all clear every dirty things inside the gutters.
The Bastard Boys affirm their commitment to keeping Ghana clean and fostering a change in mindset towards proper waste disposal. For Joy News, I'm Jacqueline Ansuma Yaboa.
Well, away from sanitation, the Dutch ambassador to Ghana, Unveils, says it will be difficult for his embassy to improve service delivery for visa applicants based on generic observation. This follows a statement released to the media by the country's Ministry of Foreign Affairs that announced that it had sent an official communique urging all embassies and high commissions in Ghana to put in place appropriate and human conditions at the embassies for visa applicants. But the Dutch ambassador has been reacting. Listen to him.
Well, let me first of all confirm that we indeed received that communication, which is, let's say, a note verbal from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to all diplomatic missions in Accra. So I can confirm that we received that message. What I would like to say is that, first of all, no system is perfect. So every system can be improved, and if there are any suggestions on how we could improve the system, that is very welcome. But what struck me in the note and what surprised me a bit is that it is quite general. It's addressed to all missions, and secondly, it addresses some general concerns about the way visa applicants are treated. So that is quite difficult for us then to improve our service delivery based on these generic observations, because we don't feel that those generic observations apply to our situation.
Well, just before we leave, let me tell you, Ken, what people have been saying on social media. This one says, it pains me that my age won't permit me to benefit from the compulsory military training for NSS.
Oh, I can see that a lot of people are interested.
Are you serious? Okay. And then this is coming from Nana Boateng. He says it's a good reason for Ghanaians to vote for JM. I'm sure he's talking about JM's pledge to reset the economy. This individual says, please tell MPP to better apologize to Ghanaians if they want any consideration moving forward. And that's some of the comments coming through on all our social media platforms. Ken?
Right. Of course, let me read a few of them. This one says, for the first time in 8 years, we didn't hear about COVID or the Russian-Ukraine war, plus extra marks for clarity of thought and proof of prerequisite knowledge of the entire content taught, equivalent to excellence. He's praising the president on his delivery at the State of the Nation address. But for that's all time will allow us. But before we go, though,
yes, today on Personality Profile, guess what? They will be playing back the conversation with the owner of Rabito Clinic, His Royal Majesty Professor Edmund Daly the 8th. And that's one conversation you must stay tuned in for.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. My name is Kenneth Jesse.
I am Faustina Safo. Good evening.